Good morning, everybody. It's great to have such a great turnout for this presentation, which I think is going to be very special. I think I've met most of you in this room, but for those who I haven't, I'm Robin Nicholson, the Executive Director of the Janes Museum. And the opportunity to bring this selection of works by Marcus is really remarkable. And for those of you, I know many of you were up in the galleries before this, but I mean, once you actually see these works of art, they are truly incredible, and the images on screen only do some credit to what these really are. So I think it's going to be incredible to hear what the artist has to say, the course that his life has taken in so many ways, and which, quite frankly, is totally inspirational to so many of us. And so I thank him for being a part of that. I'd like to thank Mark and Mariam Mahaffey for sponsoring this exhibition. Their input on this has been important, and they've also lent a couple of works in their collection to the exhibition because they've really done so much for us. And our trustee, Don Howe, helped facilitate that introduction to Mark in particular in terms of thinking about the opportunity to show Marcus's work in this context. So it's a very exciting time for the museum. Just as a bit of housekeeping, please make sure your phones are on mute. I think over the last decade plus, we all know the rules and regulations about that, but that will be very helpful to do that. So we're thrilled to have Marcus here, his exhibition here, and to be able to enjoy the incredible works that he has created, which I think are really something very, very special. So thank you all for coming in today. I know downtown was a little bit sort of overwhelmed with everything that was going on simultaneously, but that's what makes St. Pete so exciting and so vital. So thank you for being here, and enjoy the exhibition and enjoy the talk. Thank you.
All right. Today I have the unique pleasure of introducing these two individuals. The challenge of introducing people is maybe, I'd say, probably my least favorite part of my job, because it's so difficult really to essentialize someone into a few quick statements. And nevertheless, I will dutifully perform my job as my supervisor's here, so I have to. But I'm going to introduce to you today, of course, painter Marcus Thomas and his wife Anne, who are two individuals that nevertheless are going to defy my quick and easy summation. Together, Marcus and Anne Thomas form an artistic dynamic duo, and you can't help but be inspired and struck by the partnership that their life and that their work represents. And I will add that the best glimpse into their story, if you are looking to know more, is through the wonderfully composed book, Flight of the Mind, A Painter's Journey Through Paralysis. And I'm not getting paid to say that. I have no stake in the books. I'm just saying that because it is a wonderful introduction. So in the book, one thing I really like is Anne is described affectionately as Marcus's partner, his wife, his co-conspirator, which I've been seeing over the past few days, his muse, his critic, and his caretaker. And so she's intimately involved in his work as well, and not only takes photographs for her husband, but does the framing and printing, and creates combinations of matte and frame that help to contextualize and to complement his work. So the two are, in essence, a symbiotic force, and together, artistic genius. Marcus, as you no doubt have witnessed if you've seen his work, speaks on the one hand both tenderly and also audaciously through his paintings, and his thoughts, his identity, his spirit are knowable from the poetry that he offers us through the gestures of his paintbrushes. There's a defining texture and quality to his work that is simultaneously tranquil but also spiritually adventuresome, and it reaches out to you, and no doubt has reached out to many of you if you've seen his work. And the evolution of his painting, his interdisciplinary study of art in numerous forms, dedication to his craft, it's evident in all of his work. And the time that he's committed to his discipline is exemplary. And sorry to tell you, it's likely not going to be matched by any of us in any given field over the course of our lives. So it's a pleasure to see him express himself so fluently in his given medium. His work can be playful, imaginative, but also it's always careful in consideration of balance between movement and composition. And one thing that I really love about it is, and it doesn't come across as much in the work as we're showing it here, we were talking about that yesterday, is one thing is his sublime use of color and his attention to that. And so looking at his work as I become more introduced to it, I've come to think of you, Marcus, if I can be so bold, as an explorer of the soul in a way, and a philosopher as I've been introduced to his creations. And Anne sent me a number of photos for me to put together a PowerPoint. So I had the pleasure of going through quite a history of his work. And I always found myself turning to my coworker, Michelle, who is in the cubicle next to me. I'm just like, this Marcus Thomas guy can do anything. Like this guy, I was like, you got to see his work. And then I'd show her some more, show her something from the book, and just astounded, thinking this man does it all. And he really does. I really encourage you to look and get a grasp of just how much he can do. This made me extremely nervous to meet the both of you. Which of course quickly that faded away, because the love that's evident in the work that they do and in that partnership of course makes them a delight to spend time with. They have a fantastic sense of humor. But anyways, we're not here to listen to me, and we're all grateful for that. So this is my humble introduction to Marcus and Anne. So help me to officially welcome them to the James as we have a conversation with these two individuals.
Thank you, Ernest. And thank everybody.
Honored to have you here. I am going to start plying you with questions, and at a certain point, I will begrudgingly hand over the mic and open it up to you all for some of the questions that you might have. So, as Ann and I were saying before, you need to be thinking about what kinds of things that you now have the opportunity to ask while Marcus is here, so that you can get your questions answered. And he generously answers all breadth of questions that I ask him, from his favorite food to whatever.
All food.
Exactly. So if you're ready, then I'm just going to go ahead and start asking away. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is about mixing your colors. Do you mix your own colors?
I do. And for me, that is the most important part of engaging with the painting. I love, mixing, trying to understand how colors mix together, work together, or not. It's a science that I don't think I'll ever fully understand, but I'm going to give it my best to discover as much as possible.
And as a follow-up, do you have a favorite color? I know that's a horrible question.
Gosh. I blue, yellow, and red.
Well said. So in thinking about what the next thing is, I know you're always thinking what's next. What influences what your next project is going to be?
Wow. Daily life presents so many opportunities. Just looking out the window at our house, I could paint scenes from the mountains of North Carolina or the waterscapes of Florida forever. I love it. There's just not enough hours to do all the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about your hours and how you spend them, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your daily routine?
Oh boy. I'm up usually by about 9:30 or 10. I have a cup of tea, and about 11 o'clock, start painting. And I can pretty much complete my day, let's see, to about 6 p.m. Stop for a few minutes for lunch, and the rest is painting.
Wow, so you keep you're like a painter monk.
It is when I'm most happiest.
Yeah.
You actually
When
have
I am
to get him
painting.
to stop painting. You have to say,
Wow.
it's time to stop, you need to take a break. You know, he could paint until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And be just as happy as can be without
Yeah.
them, you know?
Well, that passion certainly comes through, and that's, like I was saying, has also led to you working on your discipline so much with that. And as you look at your paintings, or I guess I'll open it up to other people. No, let's just talk about yours. Do you have a favorite
Yeah.
painting of yours?
The mine.
Yeah.
The one I have not done yet. And I guess.
So would you mind telling us a little bit about what your personal goals are as a painter?
Wow. To explore as many areas of interest. Do not create barriers to keep me from doing that. Stay true to the brush and just keep moving forward.
And would you mind sharing who some of your favorite living artists are? Some of your
There's so many out there.
yeah.
Right now, my radar is Daniel Sprick, a realist who is a real scientist. I think of him as the Vermeer of today. And his work is fascinating to me. This use of color, light, his compositions, they sing. And Jasper Johns, a 90-year-old man now, he does just fabulous work. More abstract, but it intrigues me very much. The transparency, the layers, the depth. It's fascinating.
And do you find it hard when that balance between being inspired by and really, drawing inspiration from other artists' work versus staying true to what it is that your identity is as
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it, but I still have my goals. And yeah, it's a fine line, but I like to get inspiration from others, and hopefully a little of that will surface in what I'm doing.
like kind of how we were talking yesterday a little bit about using pain as vocabulary in a way. It's like you can maybe learn some new phrases or words from someone else, but you're the one speaking.
Beautifully put. It has become my voice. Yeah, when I broke my neck, my diaphragm was damaged, and not having a strong voice, it was scary. I believe that's why I embrace pain so tightly. I love realism because I feel like that makes the message even clearer. And I want clarity. And so my voice is now projected with a paintbrush.
And would you like to talk a little bit about who or what motivated that introduction into painting that has become your life?
Wow. My wife bought a Crayola watercolor set, 6 colors, 2 brushes. Then I have not looked back. Fell in love with the process. It filled the hours. A gap that was huge, and I needed something, and that something became painting. Very special to me. So I'm forever grateful.
And looking at your paintings, your love of nature, your love of our four-legged, winged kin, all of those things, it really comes across. And I wonder, what is it that why nature as a primary subject or a primary focus to your painting? You spoke about your use of realistic sort of mode of painting. Do you feel like there's also maybe a certain universality or truth or something like that with using nature, or why?
That's who I was before I broke my neck. I loved being outdoors. I loved nature. And now I can continue that love just through my head, through painting, expressing with a paintbrush. I'm still out there playing big time.
Yeah. And so to sort of akin to that and follow up on that, how does painting affect your life then?
It's made it so rich, so fulfilling. It's given me a new strength. It's provided for Anna. Yeah, I love doing it. The passion is as true now as it was from the beginning.
You could be blessed if you find anything like that sticks with you like that.
For
or
most
that you
people,
yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. And so looking through images of you painting and learning a little bit more about what your process was through the book. Also, I've seen you where you're painting a canvas is upside down. So I know that you used to paint upside down. So do you still paint upside down sometimes?
It's a wonderful perspective. I figure if it works upside down, it's going to be pretty good right side up.
Amen. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we were talking about.
You had to paint upside down. You didn't have a choice.
Oh,
You
yeah,
couldn't get the whole
it's-
canvas unless
If
you
it's
turned it around.
Right. If it's
Yeah.
the big piece, I kind of plot my time out in 3-hour segments.
Wow.
So, yeah, I get to know them real well upside down.
Yeah, I imagine so. And so you still do paint them upside down?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
But he doesn't have to.
No,
He doesn't have to paint upside down anymore. He has a mechanical easel that my brother built for him, and he wears a laser on a hat, and he puts the painting on it, and the painting moves left and right so Marcus can get to all the different segments. So he doesn't have to paint upside down, but he still chooses to do that.
Kind of become a part of the process, part of your process.
It really has.
Yeah.
Checks and balances.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm not an artist, but trying to do a little bit of sketching and things like that, I noticed that painting birds, I'm most comfortable trying to do that with their wings into their bodies and just as like a little blob. But for you, of course, you paint them in flight and all these different dispositions. So for birds who are kind of fiddly, what do you think what would you say is the hardest part about trying to capture or paint birds in a realistic way?
Wow.
Because you painted a lot of birds.
I really enjoy creating the idea of flight. Movement creates a really interesting aura for the painting. So movement is a goal, and maybe it's because I can't move, so I'm living that freedom through the creation of birds or the recreation.
Is there looking at the things that you're working on now and looking at the things that you've done, is there an area or a subject in painting or sketching that you feel like you would like to explore, maybe move towards trying, but maybe haven't had time yet? Or
I would love to do more portraiture, more figurative work. That's just an open field, and I would love to, take it down that road.
I'm sure you will. You don't seem like one who holds yourself back from doing anything. So and we were talking about this just a few minutes ago. I was thinking about this, which is what do you feel is one aspect of painting or approach to your work to art that you feel like is a main strength? And I will go so bold as to say that I think that we all have our areas, artistically or otherwise, that we feel like maybe we do better than anyone else. Is there anything that you look at? Is there anything that you look at in terms of your art that you think, I do that pretty well?
I am so critical that, sometimes it's a battle.
Yeah.
But it's worth fighting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I guess the criticism is kind of like a whetstone that
I'm kind of bulletproof by now. It's just part of it. You're not going to touch everybody.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm comfortable and fulfilling my dream, I'm going to go with it.
I read in Flight of the Mind that some of your earliest work was actually done in the form of calendars that you were selling door to door.
Yeah.
And do you ever look at one of your pieces now and think, that would make a really great February paint? Like if I did it.
Oh, my
Or have you ever considered revisiting doing a calendar and like just seeing what your calendar today looks like versus before?
Our last calendar was 1989.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it took a lot of effort to create 12 images for a calendar that had a really short selling season. So the business practicality just was not there.
I think the answer is no.
Yeah.
No, don't want to do that ever again. Got it. So a question I think that maybe we all have of artists is, what do you hang on your walls at home? What do you like to have in your home?
We've got a lot of my work up.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Upside down.
Under the bed.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So you perhaps are best known, I mean, we've talked Flight of the Mind, I keep asking about birds, but you're perhaps best known for your paintings of birds, though you paint a wide array of subjects, all sorts of styles. But is there something about birds specifically that just draws you to them time and time again that you just can't get away from birds?
The freedom of flight. Yeah. And I was fascinated with flight as a kid. And I got to do it through building and flying RC planes with my dad. And that was very special. Then I think it just carried over with painting, that interest.
And do you have a favorite bird?
Wow. I love the raptors,
Yeah.
the big birds. I love the owls. There's not a bad bird out there.
Yeah.
There are.
Maybe a starling.
Oh, even Starly, you gotta give it credit. Come on.
Looking at some of your work, especially when we are looking at the selection of works that are upstairs on display in the galleries right now, where do you come up with these ideas for some of these more surrealistic kind of conceptual works?
Wow.
Are those things a study? Are those things come from an idea, a thought, something like that? Is it more free-flowing? Could you describe that a little bit?
There it is. It is free-flowing. And I do a lot of dreaming at night while I'm awake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm kind of creating in my head. And if I feel like something will work, I'm going to give it a go. Like Statue of Freedom and the blue whale. I mean, I just got so excited that I was doing that painting that I just got to let kind of run with it. Don't create, anything too outrageous, but allow it to happen. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, the next project will hopefully work.
So you say not too outrageous. So do you have some just like bonkers paintings that are like in the closet or something?
A house full.
Yeah.
I do. And we pull them out occasionally, and I just laugh.
And is Anne like? Does she say no? I think this is. Does she hold you back and say, I think that's too crazy, Marcus? Or does she say, no, I think that plays?
No.
Full steam ahead.
You say it's crazy?
It's crazy.
Full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead.
I am like,
sure.
what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That doesn't look right. I can't paint, and I can't paint a stick figure or anything else, but I am his critic, and I am very harsh sometimes, and I know it. But, and he pretends like he doesn't listen to me. But then maybe the next day he's like, I might change that. So
She gets more frustrated than I do.
I do.
No question.
It's really hard to watch. It's like watching the grass grow. It's very, very slow.
I'll have something on the canvas that she really likes. The next day it's completely gone.
Oh
no. She's just scratching her
crushes
head.
me. I could take it away,
I
really.
feel like he's just spiting you.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. He changes paintings all the time. They really morph for a month or two. It starts out as one thing, and I love it. And then next thing I know, it's all gone, and it's something else. And I do eventually end up loving it, though, in the end. And I know that he's got an idea of where he's going with it. And usually
I've got
it
to
turns
go.
out.
Trust me.
I know. And his favorite line is, have I signed it yet? It's not been signed, so that's when I know to step back and...
Little sassy.
Yes, yeah, it was a little sassy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that makes me wonder, do you work on multiple paintings at one time to like palette cleanser, I'm going to switch over to something else, or do you doggedly stay on one?
No, absolutely. I switch.
You like to switch?
I have 4, 5, 6 projects going all the time.
Wow. Do you feel like that helps keep you fresh?
No question.
Yeah.
It is a great tool to keep keep your head clear. Don't get bogged down with any one project. Stay fresh. Yeah.
And as you tinker with these things, how do you know when you're happy with the painting or when you say,
Oh my God,
it's finished?
That is the toughest question.
I'm glad I asked.
I tend to overwork and overwork. But usually at some point, I will become the viewer, not the painter. And that's when I'm satisfied.
I like that.
I feel like I just can't really go anywhere with it. Let's sign
Yeah. So I'll ask you this kind of lightning round type question, which is what's easier to
boy.
paint, fur or feathers?
it. Feathers.
Feathers are easier.
Fur, man, that's a struggle for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's
Just is.
the layering,
Yeah.
the patience that it takes. It's tedious. Where I find the birds flow a little quicker. Yeah.
Maybe you've just internalized birds
Yeah.
so much now
Yeah.
that you just
It's
like
part of my soul
breathe
now.
birds. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So before I turn it over, I just have a few more questions, and I have the mic, so.
Yeah.
To what extent would you say that you use art as a way of communicating with or connecting to others? And maybe to follow up on that, how important is it for you to facilitate connection with the viewer? And I can ask that again.
No, it's so special
Yeah.
to connect with someone
Yeah.
because of something I've created. That's like the ultimate compliment. And it has become my new voice, my 38-year-old voice now. And I don't see any end. I want to continue to develop that voice and share it with as many people as I possibly can.
And it seems like we were talking yesterday in the gallery, such a unique thing where something that begins within, that is like an inner dialogue, then becomes something that's shared with viewers, and it becomes a larger dialogue.
Right.
And
that volume is what I seek every time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is there any advice that you would give to someone, whether they're young or otherwise, about pursuing life as an artist?
Well, pursue your dream. Find that passion. Hold tight and let it lead. You will be amazed.
And I love something that you said yesterday too, which was to, what was it? How did you put it? I think it was to throw away the rule book.
No, absolutely. I threw that away a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I had a rule book.
Yeah.
Wow. And the freedom of not following the rules. It's liberating.
So, as promised, I will relinquish the microphone to these guys and see what questions that you all might have for Marcus. So, Lise, if you will help me to. There you go.
We're going to pass the mic around so that people have a chance to.
Hi, Marcus. I'm noticing, it's quite fascinating, as your work progressed, let's say from the 80s, where you place the light and how it focuses my eye to where you want it to go. What was that journey all about? It's really wonderful where you place light. Sometimes it's in the front, sometimes it's behind.
No, it's a continuous journey. The playing with light. I don't think that ever ends.
I see.
And moving that light around, training the eye to move with that. That's how you can visit a good painting and absorb it all.
Yes, yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Great.
Marcus, you were lucky to have your dad, Ron, make your brushes for so long.
No.
Now that he's been gone, do you have any of his left, or have you found something comparable?
I do. I still have mouse sticks that my dad made for me. And I'm very gentle with them. I hope to. Sometimes I can be a little too abusive, but those are special sticks.
You really haven't found a real replacement for him either.
No, right.
His dad would use Rubbermaid cutting boards, and his dad was an engineer. He used Rubbermaid cutting boards, and he would cut the mouth sticks out and then take some Marcus paints. He would attach a piece of aluminum to it, which then Marcus's paintbrush was attached to. He built those for Marcus for at least, 20 years?
Yeah.
And then he got arthritis, and it was too difficult for him to do all of the cutting. So it's not like you can just go to the Michael's and buy a mouth stick. So
Right.
it's a little bit of a challenge right now to actually get those. So it was pretty awesome that Ron made those for him.
He would shape.
I'm lucky enough to be a childhood friend of Marcus and Ann's from a long, long time ago. Our parents were best friends.
Thank you, Becky.
Do you paint in oil or acrylic?
I prefer oils.
Oil.
And
What
I do about 20% in watercolor. About 10 or so paintings a year in watercolor.
Do you have a preferred medium for your oil paint? A mixing medium, or do you use
I
any at all?
don't use them.
You don't use them?
My respiratory system will not
Gotcha.
allow me to have those fumes so close for so many hours.
Okay.
So I just stay away.
Do you-
I use a mineral spirit, non-odor. And that's it.
Okay. Do you use any reference photos for any of your paintings?
No, absolutely. I've got a ton of reference photos. I say it's the tool, not the rule.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. This is just marvelous stuff. So if you decide, I'm going to paint this bird because it flew past your window or you're just thinking about it, are you focused on the bird and then you'll place it in a fanciful or real environment, or sometimes the bird in the environment is what attracts you?
What usually comes first is the bird, a sketch, some kind of underpainting. And then I'll go in and start creating the mood or the landscape, the idea to support that bird.
Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Mary.
As you know, Mark and I have met Ann and Marcus many years ago in Highlands. And I saw Marcus painting a hummingbird. And that was my bird. And I'd see him at our house. And I was so amazed by the workmanship that he did and the love between Ann and how they get together and talk to each other. And she is a little tough sometimes. But I've seen him.
She's got to be.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But the part that I've seen your different areas that you have gone through, where you've gone to see, the sea life, and you've gone to animals, you've gone, and your impression of, how you put various things in it. But I think the one that probably Ann thought you would never finish, you were talking about the hours that you might put in a painting. And Mark finally got this painting of Hemingway. Tell them how long it took you. And I just want to thank you for coming here before you
No,
answer that.
our pleasure.
And we are, you're such a delight, and I hope everybody enjoys and goes and sees your work.
Thank
We
you.
love
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
5 years. And yeah, I think I did it. And it was so big that we were unable to carry it back and forth to North Carolina and back to Florida. So it stayed in Florida. So you got to work on it, every 6 months. And I usually had multiple projects. So I didn't get to just concentrate on that one. Being a large piece, then a complicated composition. It really took everything I had to complete that painting. But finally did, brought it to a show here in St. Pete. And the first time I had ever showed it, then Mark bought it. Yeah.
And Ann told you, you gotta finish this.
She told me
Yeah.
she didn't want to, but she was not going to put it back in the theme.
Yeah. It wasn't. It's too big.
But Marcus, I have a question. I mean, looking at your work and looking at the broader sort of art historical sphere, I mean, I see you as a continuity with people like Audubon's Birds of America, with what Andrew Wyeth was doing, and you've talked a little bit about what inspires you, and obviously there's a sort of, as Ernest said, there's a sort of slightly surreal aspect to what you do. Perhaps you could talk a little bit more about how you feel you're placed within the American sphere of art moving forward in the 21st century.
Wow. That's a good one, Robin. I tell you, I do not have any preconceived ideas about where I am going. All I know is I'm just going to give it my absolute best. And my inspirations, Dali, it's endless. So many incredible painters. And I'm just going to continue to find inspiration from all those amazing people and apply it to my way of thinking and just take it to the bitter end. Yeah.
Marcus, I assume you do paint outside, and could you tell us a little bit about your travels? Do you still go to a fair number of exhibitions and street fairs?
We do. We do 8 to 10 shows during the winter months here in Southwest Florida, and about the same number in the mountains of North Carolina.
Hello. Oh,
I do. Wherever I can, paint. Yeah, it's the light outside. It's hard to beat, hard to match indoors. So to get something outdoors is always a pleasure.
Hello. I'm so glad I came today. I really wasn't familiar with you, and now I'm so thrilled to be exposed to your art and your person and your wife. It's quite remarkable. Your work is beautiful. The colors feel very Asian. There's something Asian about your vibe. It's like that. It's very beautiful, and the colors are incredible. The fact that the history and understanding that you really didn't start art, it sounded like, until you had your accident. Is that the case?
It is. My first attempt at painting was about 9 or 10 months after I broke my neck.
The fact that you stayed with something which must have been very frustrating in the beginning is remarkable to me.
Frustration it's just part of the journey. And I learned to accept it early. And now it doesn't scare me. I use it for motivation.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful life lesson. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Hi, Marcus. It's been a pleasure to meet with you and meet you and Anne over these last months, putting the show together and hearing from you today. I'm really curious to have you speak a little bit about Western North Carolina and your home there and your situation and the painting that was a little bit stressful for you as you were finishing them up for the show. It sounds like there was one in particular that was in a tricky situation or a risky spot when the storms came through.
The painting that I call Kathmandu, it's the ox bell. That painting was actually, we were doing color work, preparing for reproductions. And where we do that was on the banks of the French Broad River. And we found out later, the painting was about 6 inches from being washed away. At the time, though, I saw all the devastation. And I thought that was just minor, just if I had to, I would have easily just painted it again, maybe paint it better. I don't know. I'm glad we retrieved it, but I was prepared not to.
Mr. Thomas, in one of your pieces of art here at the James, it's titled Mrs. Potter. Is there a Mrs. Potter?
It's a really cool song by Counting Crows. Yeah, and when I completed the painting, I just thought, wow, that's the Mrs. Potter that he's singing about.
But Mrs. Potter actually was a commissioned piece by a customer of Marcus's. It was going to be a nude painting of his wife. And the gentleman was about 80 years old. His wife was about 40. And he had been collecting from Marcus for several years. And he just said, Marcus, would you consider painting my wife? Marcus had never done a nude, but he's always up for the challenge. And he said, sure. So this gentleman went and got photographs of his wife and everything for Marcus. She was in a bikini, but for Marcus to create this painting. And he actually did start the painting. And unfortunately, the gentleman was hiking on Machu Picchu and broke his hip. And he was about 80 years old, so it was a struggle for him. And he just called Marcus one day and he said, Marcus, I don't think I can, I don't think I'm gonna be able to go through with this. Marcus was fine. He was like, death is no problem. Wanted to make sure he put the gentleman at ease because he knew that Marcus had already started it. And he turned the nude painting into that woman. That is what, if you look underneath Marcus's paintings, there are other paintings, and most artists there are, but there are a lot of other paintings underneath it. And underneath it was this nude woman, Mrs. Potter.
Yeah, I quickly put clothes on her.
Yeah.
We have time for about one more question. Is there any fun? We'll go right here. Marcus, your work is just so inspiring, and I'm curious to know who inspires you outside of the arts, out of the art world. Are there other spiritual guides or somebody that might come to mind that really inspires you to move forward?
I'd say it's as simple as a real good movie. That's inspiring. I meet so many fascinating people down here. And I hear so many beautiful stories. That's inspiring. Inspiration it's all around us all the time. and I just try to decipher it, turn it into a painting energy, then go to work.
We are going to wrap up now, but Marcus and Anne will be up in the gallery. So if you haven't seen the show yet, please make your way up to the gallery on the second floor. If you have seen the works and want to say hello to them, you're welcome to go say hello upstairs as well. But I want to, first of all, thank all of you for coming today. It's been a pleasure having you here and to help us celebrate Marcus Thomas and the wonderful work that he has created, and to see it here in the museum is just such a special treat for us. And of course, I want to thank Marcus and Anne for coming today, for sharing, for being so generous throughout this entire process of developing this exhibition with the museum's staff. And it's just been a really wonderful process for everybody. So thank you for being here and for allowing us to share your work with the community. It's just tremendous. And Ernest, thank you for being our fearless moderator today, for taking this journey. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you here at the James again. We have many more programs coming up, so please do come back and see us. We love to see a full house, and we do apologize for the lineup at the parking this morning. It's been a busy morning in St. Pete, but it's really exciting to see a lot of activity downtown again. So thank you all for being here, and please do make your way up to the second floor, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.